Hey YouTube, it's me, I'm back. And as promised, I'm getting ready to do the next segment of On the Path Revisited. Where we left off last time was I was in Arkansas and I was selling my childhood in order to get on hormones. The closest doctor that was in Arkansas that I could get a vial from in order to turn in my script was a Dr. Sharon Lee out in Kansas City. So I drove the hour there and I kind of camped out in my car, not telling her, of course, and jumping through hoops just trying to get, my script approved so that way I could send it to Two Heathcare's and I would have access to my hormones. At the time, I had hair down to my ass, and it was this kind of primal tribal hair of doom, Everybody at the goth bar was jealous of it, and I kind of took pride in that. It was a pain in the ass, but, anything to impress people. No, just kidding. But, it's a very manly thing to do in the goth bar. You have long hair, and you wear eyeliner, and you paint your nails, and it's a very masculine thing. But when I walked into the doctor's office, toned down, and I had my hair pulled back, and, I had the black removed from my nails. I went in and I answered her 20 questions, and she basically went through the exact same questions over and over and over again, trying to trick me into saying I wasn't trans, which was very annoying, and there was nothing in the DSM-4 about this. I went through counseling, here's my paper, I turn it in, you give me hormones. But she didn't do that. Instead, she made me do extra blood work than what was needed, and jump a bunch of hoops. And then, right when she said she was going to give me my hormones, she said she wasn't sure if I was serious about transitioning because I had long hair. So I told her I'm part of the goth community and it's a very, masculine thing to do. And she didn't believe me and she was going to deny me my hormones. So that night I went back to the car and I took a razor and I very slowly, while nicking my head a couple times, you can kind of see a couple of the scars if you really look hard, proceeded to shave off my hair. And I walked in there, scabbed up and with no hair, and I put on some old suit I wore at a funeral, and I looked her straight in the eye and I said, give me my hormones, I'm not leaving. And then she finally wrote the approval, and I sent it to Two Heathcare's, and whereas it kind of should have felt like a victory, it didn't. It felt more like a violation. I gave this woman my trust, and my therapist gave this woman my trust, and she violated it to be the gatekeeper of a social norm. And the social norm that she held me back on was that men have short hair. And since then I've tried to grow my hair back out, but I get annoyed about halfway through the process because I end up with this broccoli fro. Because, well, I have a little bit of Jewish in me, but, whatever. So, since then, I just kind of keep it short, but I get really angry every time I think about it, and a lot of physicians and healthcare workers kind of act like, the gatekeepers of whatever, and whatever they expect you to do is what's going to happen. Hold on. I just dropped my mic. Crappy $1 clip-ons. Mountain Dew break. And I know I'm not the only one. I hear stories like this all the time. There was this one guy I met when I was in Colombia who his physician had a problem with his height and kept trying to tell him that he wouldn't make a good transition candidate because he was short. I'm like, what? There's short guys everywhere. You know, and some of them are medically short. Have you heard of dwarves? Those guys are always short. There's nothing you can do about that. They're short. And my glasses are glaring. This sucks, because I'm nearsighted, and every time I try to make a video with these things on, I can see the camera, and I can see where I'm talking, but then everybody gets to see my freaking screen, and that's crap. But, you know, there's nothing I can do with it, so I just kind of end up looking like I'm high when I'm on the damn camera, because I can't see and I'm nearsighted, and if I talk too long, I get a headache. So, anyway, I got my hormones, I mailed it in that day, and I got in my car, and at that point, I had nowhere to go, I had nothing to do, and I had $100 in my hand, so I called some people I knew in St. Louis, and I told them what was going on, and my friend Amy actually was like, sleep on my couch, they're hiring at my job, I'll get you a job, you know, it's for a security system company, you'll make $10, you know, an hour, and you can just rent the couch for like, you know, such and such a month, and clean my dishes, and you can save up and you can get surgery. And then it was like, finally, stuff's happening, cool. You know, but the entire drive I felt really remote and disconnected, because the closer I got to transition, it seems like the more civilization was trying to estrange me. And I don't know how comfortable I was with that. And you kind of get this odd sense of freedom where, like, the whole world is open to you, but you don't know what to do or where to go. There's no map. There's no... It's not like an RPG where you can just kind of see where everything is. You can just walk from point A to point B. You can't do that, you know? So I trekked over to St. Louis, and I got a job, and it took a little longer than I expected, but, you know, I got my chest surgery, and that will be part 3. So, I'll see you crazy kids later. Peace out.